So thanks so much for such a big audience at the end of the day. This is the graveyard shift. And Marina, I won't take anything against you for sending them all away. Okay. So quick kaleidoscope of fitness and a bit of what we do. So lots of words, but the key words here is customers are key. That's one of the things that we've been missing, I think, today. We haven't heard enough about the customers, although Sean, thankfully, did talk about customers and also talk about the team. And I can see that some of my team are here as well, backing me up. So customers are key. And then again, lots of words, but the key ones are focus on what you can control and invest in the people. So now, just in case you haven't seen the Spotlight report, which is available on our stand free of charge, then let's look at the latest figures from our audit. So the audit covers all 7,000 sites, and we're talking to them either by phone, self-reporting, or cross-checking via social media. So what's fascinating this year is that the number of members have gone up, market value has gone up, but the number of actual sites has dropped a little. So what do you think caused that? And you can have copies of these, Sean, if you want. So what's fascinating is we look now at the total number of gyms, and you can see the percentage that the independents make up. Now, I still think that this is unbelievably low. Unbelievably low. We should be well into doubling this number to have just 15% of the population that have direct debit memberships of these 7,000 sites is pathetically low. So we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back about this. And can you imagine in between 2007 to 2012 how I had to come up with something that said how well the industry was doing when it was really just flatlining? It was hard work. And then you notice in between 2012 and 2013, there's hardly a blip. Remember what happened in 2012? We spent £8 billion on the Olympics. What did the fitness industry get out of the £8 billion? Didn't get many members. Membership didn't rise, remember? Number of sites hardly rose, and very few additional members. So we missed an opportunity. We're missing opportunities now with the health industry, for example. So Boots have a multi-million-pound deal with the NHS to test 5 million people. That's half the total number of members that we have across the total industry. We could do that, and we could do it almost overnight. But we didn't get the contract. Why didn't we get the contract? We didn't know it even came out. We're not connected where we should be. We're not in the same room. Remember, during pandemic, the Arts and Culture Fund received 1.5 billion in 3 months. Sport got 200 million in 6 months, and fitness got nothing. It was deemed irrelevant. It was deemed irrelevant because we couldn't provide the information that the government wanted. So, the split between public and private sector, I'm always so disappointed when I show this slide. The public sector is doing so much, got some incredible facilities, and yet why is it only half of what the private sector is. Now, admittedly, because of you being the audience, I can say that independents are included in that private sector figure. And here are the independent gyms and how that's changed over the last few years. So, slightly lower, but it's still a substantial number of the total number of private sites. So in 2023, 17% of the total number of new sites that opened were independents. So, and independents, as you can see, more members, and the market value was up for private member sites. Now, this is getting on to the exciting part of the day. This is probably the most exciting part that you're going to have today. So, think about, we hear the talk of algorithms every day. We also hear the talk of artificial intelligence every day, and we also hear machine learning. Now, this is our concept of what it looks like. This is what Natalie, who's sitting in the middle here, this is what she plays with every day. So when people are doing their site analysis work and want to know how many members they're going to get, then this is what plays on the screen. So, let me just run through a few things. There's around 65 million people in the country. They live at 1.9 million postcodes. They're split into either 10 groups or 66 types. Each one of those types has a different propensity to participate at a different type of fitness facility. And that propensity changes depending on the concentration of those types. So like attract like. We always known that, and that's what still happens. So what you can see on this heat map is where the concentrations of people are, and therefore the concentrations of clubs. And if we were looking at a site where we are, then here's our mosaic groups that Natalie can tell you more about, but let me go back. So we colour code all those 66 different types and the groups, and this is a map of where we are. So those purple ones have the highest propensity to participate. So this would be a great site for a gym. Now, as it happens, of course, we've actually got some. They've already seen it. It's a great place to be. And what's also interesting is that two of the ones immediately closest to us, Village and David Lloyd, are up for sale. What a coincidence, huh? So 2 for sale, and you could open a new one here. Probably a good time to build a new club. So we're monitoring all the openings and all the closings of all the 7,000 sites almost daily. So if your social media goes quiet, then that's an indication to us that you've either not paid the internet bill or you've closed down. And so then we make a few calls to find out if you're still operating or not. So we're checking all those sites constantly through different electronic ways, and then eventually make a phone call. So how can we help you? Well, we can help you once you've found that site that you think is going to work, then you as the operator will have a gut feeling that will tell you whether it works or not. You'll know. And what we do is we add data to that. We help you understand how good a site it will be. We help you understand how many members you'll get at that site. Because though all those flashing lights are taking into account all the competition, taking into account all the types of people that are living there, taking into account the price points, and taking into account all the range of facilities and how much further people are prepared to drive to get to your type of club. So that algorithm is working away in the background and coming up with a bottom line figure that we call latent demand. And that latent demand is the number of members that you should get within your first year. Now, these are some of our partners that we've onboarded during the year. And we'd obviously love to onboard some more as well. And the reports that we produce, so each year for the last 18 years we've been producing the fitness report. On the back of that we produce the swimming report, and on the back of that we produce the boutique report. And here's the boutique report here, and you can get a free copy of each one of those reports from our stand, and it's the Spotlight report. So this year, for the first year, we decided that we wanted to give away the headline figures for each of those concepts. And so we created the Spotlight report. And over 100,000 of the fitness ones have already been downloaded. So please feel free to pick up ones from our stand, just by the coffee stand, so that you can save downloading. Now, so what I want to do is leave you with a few thoughts. So the NHS tell me that in 2019, which is the last figures that they've got, amazingly, because you'd think that the prescriptions are digital now and you'd be able to collate information on prescriptions, but in 2019, the largest prescription across the country was for one thing: statins. So 78 million prescriptions for statins. Now, when you think about it, that's going to keep a lot of pharmacy going. It's going to keep a lot of medical companies going. And it's going to keep a lot of doctors going. But what about our industry? Those statins are actually being prescribed to lower people's cholesterol. How many actually just keeps taking the statins and the cholesterol never gets lowered? Our industry could actually be the font of new life for those people, and we could lower the cholesterol of most of them if we work together. And that's 78 million prescriptions that we could reduce very quickly. The other thing I thought you'd be interested to know is that in 2020, the world's population of 8 billion received 4.5 trillion doses of medicine. Now, most doctors will admit that as soon as you start taking more than one piece of medicine, they don't know what's actually happening with the second piece of medicine. And the doctors will also admit that some of the over-the-counter drugs, like aspirin, they don't really know how it works. So if we could cut down on the number of these trillions of doses of medicine that are being prescribed, then our industry should be able to pick up on the piece of action and business of making people fitter and healthier without the need for huge prescriptions. So I've whizzed through that because I know you're all desperate for a drink, like me, but I will do Q&A now for anyone that's got more questions on these wonderful topics. Yes? The question is, could we do other reports on other subjects, particularly sport? So, we spent 10 years of our life creating active places for Sport England. And one of the things that we ended with was a wonderful supply database of where people can go and play. The missing part was who's using it. And we still don't have that. And we still don't have that very easily. So the reason why we concentrated after those 10 years on fitness is because most fitness companies can supply us with anonymized, aggregated information on their members, and then Natalie can get to work to tell you about those members and about how many more members there are potentially living in the catchment area. So there's a lot to do on sport. Hello.
Hello, me again. Can't keep quiet.
From High Wycombe.
Beth Foster from High Wycombe, Architectural Design Services. Based on that, education is better, is the key. When you've got a site, or you found a site, this is our view. Building control, landlords, and if the site is not good enough, it needs to be brought up to spec. And that is possibly where the local authorities and public buildings have got the funds. They can take everything to Part M, they can make it all inclusive, they can make sure it's DDA compliant. That is possibly where private sector is now slowing down, because the 2022 Part M and building regulations is so much stronger that you're paying a lot more just to get the store open or the club open. So I can see the results of the stores closing. Yeah.
And if we had some of our clients up here as well, then they would say the number one problem of opening a new leisure centre, I went to the pre-opening of Third Space in Wimbledon, they have to upgrade the substation. The infrastructure it isn't there. Sean. Hang on.
I was just going to ask, from your experience, what guidance then would you say for us as a collective industry that would galvanise the efforts of everybody that puts us at the forefront of national health? Because obviously during COVID, it was the link between obesity, the risk associated with COVID, and the importance of exercise was identified. But on the day they launched Better Health, our industry got poo-pooed, and it was help out to eat out and VAT reductions on fast food. Yeah. So you're right, as an industry, and we actually did have a lot of data in terms of the infection rates and how low it was in, within active communities. But what guidance, what can we do? Because it is the biggest frustration for someone who's been in the industry for so long. It's well known the benefits of activity to health. So what can we do as a sector to galvanise the collective?
Present the data in a way that the government can understand it, and so that we come together, so that we don't seem as though we're so fractured. Because if I go back to the example of the arts, then every senior civil servant and every junior civil servant in the Cabinet Office, they understood what a concert hall was. They understood what a theatre was. They understood what the opera was. They not only understood it, most of them were members of one way or another, or a friend of their local theatre, and they didn't need to go and visit to see what they actually are saving. They knew. And not only did they know, but they knew that their parents went as well. And they were able to share information very quickly because the arts have an older population that use those facilities. And one of the questions that the Cabinet Office asked me was, the people that are dying of COVID are in their 60s, 70s and 80s. What percentage of the 10.4 million members are in their 60s, 70s and 80s? No one knows. No one still knows 2 years later. That's not being collected, and that's not being shared. Now, one of the reasons is too much of the private sector would actually show it as being too much Gen Z, whereas the public sector would actually counterbalance that lovely, because we know from the figures we've seen that they are appealing to an older population. And that is the outcome that the government want to see. Of all the things that we do, what's the outcome? That's what they want to know.
So is that a position? Well, I suppose is that a directive then for our league governing body?
Yes.
to step up and
Yeah.
to be more persuasive.
Yeah, I think so.
And actually galvanise the industry by going round to the 7,000 facilities and capturing the information.
Yeah.
Because it does frustrate when you know the impact that it can make, and then you have to sit there as a bystander and seeing everybody else benefit, and you're there scrapping away, because it's not easy being an independent health club.
Yeah.
It's the hardest challenge of all.
No, absolutely. But you're doing really well in Lancaster.
Down to the team and great people. It really is.
You mentioned that the health and fitness industry didn't get any sort of funding in the private sector back in COVID. How would we actually go to get a place at these discussions? As in, what actions could we take, both individually or collectively, to get a place at these discussions?
It's a very good question. So the governing body's working on it. They're at the table now. The chairman of UKA has come from the health sector. So we're hoping over a period of time that we're collecting better data, that we're using that data better, and that we're able to answer the questions that the government ask us.
Could groups like this be used to push this agenda?
Groups like this could actually be the total catalyst. If we put the onus upon Rob, then this group could, without a doubt, become the catalyst. And Rob, together with the public sector, who are very keen to share, could actually become the catalyst.